Now, this Saturday will mark 7 years since Madeleine McCann went missing while on a family holiday in Portugal. From that moment, her parents, Kate and Jerry, have campaigned tirelessly for their daughter's safe return. First, let's remind ourselves of their story. This is the final photograph of Madeleine. Hours later, she disappeared from her family's holiday apartment in Portugal while her parents and their friends ate at a nearby restaurant. Her mum and dad began a desperate search for Madeleine, with appeals across Europe and a visit to the Pope in Rome. 3 months later, they were faced with yet more turmoil when they were named as official suspects. There were dozens of reported sightings of Madeleine, but a year after her disappearance, the Portuguese inquiry was officially shelved. Kate and Jerry were eventually cleared of any involvement in July 2008. Employing private investigators and raising money through charity events, their search for Madeleine has never stopped. In 2011, they appealed directly to Prime Minister David Cameron, and within 24 hours he announced funding for a police investigative review team. In the last 6 months, the investigation has taken a positive turn. Last month, new evidence came to light, prompting over 500 calls from the public. A potential suspect, seen wearing a burgundy top, has been linked to the investigation. Well, Jerry and Kate McCann join me now. Thank you for coming in. I can't believe that it's 7 years. What's the latest? What do we know? What's the latest in the investigation?
Well, I think the progress with the Met investigative review has been really quite impressive, and you know, one of the things we were asking for was for all the information to be reviewed. And we've had updates on Crime Watch and fresh appeals, and literally the senior detectives told us that hundreds of people have come forward, and what they've identified now is that there has been a whole series of crimes against young children, British families in the Algarve by people breaking into apartments, and you know, they're potentially linked. And that's really important information, obviously. So we'd really like to thank all those people who came forward. We know that for the families that could be really difficult, for children who have been traumatised, and many of these cases are going back years. So we'd really like to thank them. But it's really building up a picture of what was going on in and around Praia da Luz, and immediately preceding and after Madeleine being taken. So we're really encouraged by it.
But we're 7 years on, you know, we're 7 years on, and you're talking about people coming forward, very, very tough circumstances, and that's hard for you to imagine that anything like that might have happened to your wee girl. That's the thing. It's kind of, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, obviously, you know, Lorraine, that when Madeleine was first taken, that was the only thing we could think about, and that was the hardest by far. But there are different scenarios, and we've seen a whole load of cases of children being recovered after a long time, being abducted and held, and obviously Madeleine was very young, so...
Of course, we don't know that any of these cases are linked to each other or to Madeleine, but I think it's common sense, really, that if something like that stands out, it needs to be investigated.
So very hard.
I think, I mean, for me, the key thing is, even though it's 7 years on, there is lots and lots of things that still need investigated and lines of inquiry that need followed. And I suppose while we know that there's lines of inquiry that haven't been bottomed out, then we just want to get on with it and get it done. And, you know, it doesn't matter so much how long it takes, we've just got to get it done.
Where do you two get your strength, though, to keep going? Because it is remarkable.
I get mine from Kate, obviously.
Do you get it from one another?
I think from each other, from our children, from our family and friends, you know.
And the support. We've had unbelievable support. Not just those who are close to us, but public support's been amazing.
And that's ongoing, you know, which, as you say, 7 years down the line is quite incredible.
Because when you think about it, this time 7 years ago, you were on holiday. It was a normal family holiday. And is it tough to remember a time before Madeleine was taken? Is it difficult to remember those days, you know, when things were so very different?
Well, even last week, you know, just say, for example, 27th of April, I was thinking this time 7 years ago, you know, everything was as great as it could ever be. You know, it's...
I think for us, our life is defined by pre and post the abduction. Unfortunately, leading up to Portugal, having had 3 very young children and had a tough 2 or 3 years, just full on and working, etc. And we were just coming through that, and we were, I wouldn't say we were, but life seemed good, really good. And it's different now because Sean and Emily are 9. They're really good kids, really happy, and they bring us tremendous amount of joy. So it's very much, we were a family of 5, and now we're functioning as a family of 4.
I think the hard thing, though, maybe people think, well, it's 7 years down the line, I guess and we have adapted, but still weeks and months rolling by is still incredibly significant for us. So whether Madeleine had been found, after a week, after 6 months, whether it's 7 years and 1 week, that is better than 10 years or whatever. So it's really significant. So for us, we want the progress that's been made by the Met to continue, I guess, on the ground in Portugal. And, I guess, in truth, we'd like them to work as a, together as a...
That would have been good if that happened from the start.
We want ideally a joint investigation team so the work can be streamlined, bureaucracy is reduced, and progress can be made much quicker, because time rolling on for us is still painful, and living in a limbo of not knowing is horrible for all our family.
Because she's still very, very much part of your life. She's very much part of the twins' life. They presumably they talk about their big sister, and you all talk about her. You keep her there as part of your family.
Yeah, no, completely. I think it does get harder as time goes on, but very much so. We're surrounded by photographs. They know that we're here today, the usual. They know that the police are investigating. So we keep them as informed as we can.
And also you two do an awful lot of work as well. A lot of running and a lot of fundraising for missing people. And does that help you in some way? Is that a positive thing for you to do?
Well, it is. I mean, I'm sure everybody can understand whenever something terrible happens, you want to believe that some good can come out of it. And I believe, obviously, since Madeleine was taken, the charities work and all other families who have missing children, there has been some benefit because of the publicity and the awareness. And if we can help in some way with that, there has to be some good that's come out of it.
Yeah, you've got to, I think, try and channel it. We've obviously had a huge amount of publicity around Madeleine, and trying to channel that into effective change. And obviously there's the revamped Child Rescue Alert, which Kate's been involved with promoting, and other things, obviously, throughout Europe, and trying to get a more homogenous response to child abduction across the European Union, particularly when we've got open borders. It's really important that there's cooperation between police forces, and it's a bit like coming back to what we're trying to facilitate at the minute between the Met and the Portuguese police, that normally you only get cooperation for very serious crimes, drug trafficking and things, but child abduction is a serious crime. Absolutely. And we really want those types of strategies that would be used to counter terrorism and drug trafficking, etc., are put in for human trafficking and other crimes against children.
Do you think there'll ever be a time where you just think to yourself, you know what, we've done enough, we can't do it anymore, and give up? Do you think that would ever happen?
Well, no, and I don't think any parents would, really, because if we haven't found Madeleine or we haven't found what's happened, then we haven't done enough. There's still work to be done. I mean, obviously our workload has been reduced or changed, hugely since the Met came on board, and that certainly made our lives a lot easier. And great progress has been made to date.
It's good. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much indeed. I wish you all the very best, I really do. And I know Saturday will be tough for you. Saturday will be tough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we'll see you after the break.